2.9, retreats at an unknown venue.
Who was the governor then? Chair, this is laughable. Could be the governor. We under security threat. Could not reveal where they were.
So we are querying the payment of 2.9 million, which was paid for a retreat whose venue was not disclosed for audit review. Governor, could you tell us the venue for this event?
So normally in practice, Chairman, once a letter is written, I've not seen a response back from IFMIS indicating that the rights have been granted. Usually within the stipulated time of 7 days, they issue the rights, and once the officers access the system,
7 days would have fallen on the date of election.
They're able to deal.
What was happening on 3rd of August 2022?
Chair, usually for clearing systems, again based on experience.
No, what significant activity was happening in the week of the 7 days from 3rd of August? Those 7 days that you expected to get response. What was happening in the country?
There was an election.
Yes.
Yeah, but I cannot fully ascertain the happenings then. But
why would one choose to void 15 billion worth of transactions on election week?
Excuse me, Chair.
Because even in terms of importance, they have the location of the petrol station, but not the registration of the vehicle. Governor, honestly. In terms of priority of the importance of information, you would expect that the vehicle registration is first.
Chair, Your Excellency Governor Sakaja, would I be wrong if I took administrative action against your officer by assuming how he's inept?
You're not allowed.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
Also a new chief officer.
No,
Oh.
then he should be telling us.
And he should be telling us he wasn't there.
Looking at him.
Yes.
Why, just say what you're doing now.
Tell us
You are not there then.
The situation is still the same. Initially in the morning we were told 7 cards. Now you are saying you have 45 cards against 500 and something vehicles. Which criteria do you use to allocate 45 cards against 500 plus vehicles? I'm not talking about this. I don't know his private vehicle, so why would I discuss?
It's the one you said.
No. LX 600. I was just an example.
And that's why we want the registration number,
Yes.
so that we can check whether that particular one is being cleared using
Chair
county cards.
Cherargei should declare interest. The governor has said he has given him a lift in that very same vehicle.
No.
Where did
Yeah,
he
I've
do it?
never boarded any governor's vehicles.
It's the same one
I
that
don't
was a
know.
senator.
I don't know his vehicles. I can't really remember
Anyway, Chair,
because he's a man of means, so I can't really remember which one.
Thank you. I, Sakaja Arthur Johnson, do solemnly swear that the evidence I shall give before this committee in respect of the matters before the committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Okay, next will be your tabling of your written responses and supporting annexures.
Yes, Chair. Chair, hereby table the following documents before the committee: management responses and accompanying annexures on the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for financial years 2020, 2021, 2021, 2022, and receiver of revenue statement for financial year 2021, 2022 for the County Executive of Nairobi. The documents are here.
Auditor General, have you been able to review the annexures and records that have been tabled by the Governor?
Thank you, Chair. The documents were received on the responses and documents were received on 22nd April 2024, and we've been able to review.
Are you able to prosecute? Is there any reason why we should not proceed today?
No, Chair.
Clerk of the Senate, can you confirm that we got our copies in good time?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do confirm that we got our copies within the timelines that have been set by the committee.
Okay. I think then we proceed, but we must first deal with the issue of the summons. Clerk,
Chair.
you will give us a chronology of events leading to the summons so that the committee can take a decision on how to proceed.
I can see my chief officers struggling to explain for those people who were there at that time. And I keep telling them, it's not a must for you to explain what you don't know that happened before you were in office. That 2021, 22, or whatever it is, issue on insurance needs to be looked at. It must be investigated.
Is NHIF still providing the cover?
No, we moved on.
It was terminated.
It wasn't terminated, it ended.
So it moved to another underwriter.
Another company, yeah. Right now it's the county staff on Jubilee.
Governor, does it have to take the Senate to raise it for action to be taken, or there is administrative action that you can take as a CEO?
I think the committee can guide on that, especially, given the fact that you're talking about officers who are no longer at the county. Yeah. The person you're referring to who wrote the letter, Senator Dodo, is no longer at the county. And so the committee, that's why we're looking at those old audits.
Now,
you can actually guide.
Is the first step restitution, that you must now cause a letter to be written to NHIF demanding the 72 million back? Because it was money that was paid by Nairobi without value.
You see, Chair, that if you look at the response given in audit, there are attempts to justify it. Those attempts, I can look at it and say, okay, from my own view, yeah, it looks suspect. And that is why I would want the Senate, because the Senate has we have visited. I can write also myself to ask for it. But you can help us another, because I would want to know also, in as much as I was not governor then, I would want to know what happened.
Governor, we don't want to do your job. You must do your job. If you agree with us that this amount, and if your officers agree that there's no clear basis for payment of this amount, you must write to NHIF demanding the money back. And then let Kinoti take action afterwards. Because otherwise we'll be doing your job. And that's why Sifuna has opted to be a senator, so that he can deal with the Maandamano while you deal with the tough business. So I think we direct as an interim measure that the CEO must demand for this money back, but we're also telling ESCC to keep an eye on this, because insurance has been abused.
Chair, kindly don't direct that way then. I know you've already directed it, you're the chair. I want to look at it further, if you allow me. Let me look at it further. There's possibly documentation that they don't have or something. What has raised the red flag to me is the amount at in the financial statement of 679, having been the budget. And of course, people, staff are on board, they always entries and exits. Some amount of it could be justifiable, but allow us to look into it before demanding cash back.
Fine. So take administrative measures,
yeah.
But I want to ask Kinoti to add it to his matrix of issues that he needs to keep an eye on. Let's proceed then to fuel, oil, and lubricants. On the next issue is about management of your fuel smart cards. Governor, the Auditor General has made his findings. You have made your response, which you shall take note of your written response. Can you just tell the Senate the measures you have taken to tighten controls in fuel smart card management and fleet management? You have 7 smart cards fueling 176 county vehicles. If we were to get a report from one of the smart cards, Governor, are you sure that we will not find that the smart card was used to fuel your private car?
Chair, allow the Chief Officer Mobility to give us a response. The response, of course, is as what is written.
Yes, but because of time, I just want us to focus on the problem.
Yeah, so we have a huge fleet of vehicles. There are not 7 cars right now in the county. There are, how many cars do you have now? Around 45, of those cars given to different sectors.
45 against how many vehicles?
It's not a card per vehicle. You see, for instance, if you're fueling a fleet of garbage.
Okay, but how many vehicles do you have? Now that NMS has brought back some assets, what's your total fleet?
Answer on the back.
The vehicles are around 550 plus or minus.
Average 550?
Yes.
Okay, Governor, Senator Nyonka?
The, excuse me, CEC Finance. The gentleman on the right is who? Thank you. Chief Officer Mobility. What the OAG has said, yes, you've given us the cards which show that actually vehicles were being fueled. But we don't have any job cards. We don't have information what these vehicles did. We don't have the registration numbers of the vehicles for us to know the quantum and the quantities of the fuel they were consuming. So the question then, naturally I was asking myself is, do you have those records available? If you did, why didn't you give them to him again?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, those records are there, and they were submitted during the second time. And what happens, every fuel card is under the custody of a transport officer. On top of that transport officer, when every county driver consumes fuel using that card, there's a sheet that they're supposed to sign against their consumption. That sheet has the registration number of that vehicle, the liters consumed, the amount of money that the liters have used, and then the receipt number, because after every consumption of a vehicle, there's an ETR receipt that is generated. So what the driver signs against is against all that information.
If you took card number 3, for example, out of the 7 the auditor cited, is the service provider able to provide a report on the vehicles that have been fueled using card number 3?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a.
What is the content of the report?
It is the registration number, the liters consumed, the date, and the time.
So, Auditor General, had you indicated that you are not able to get that kind of report from the service provider? Auditor General, do you have that visibility?
Yes, Chair, referring to an appendix that we've looked at. It's under Appendix 2.4, and the output report from the service provider is attached.
Where is the registration number?
Chair, there is no registration number.
Could you point us to the registration number on that report? 2.4, Fleet Sub-Sector Fuel Statement. So how do we tell that on 29th of July 2021 at Kilimani service station, the vehicle that fueled at 13,000 is a vehicle of the Nairobi City County?
Chair, with your kind permission, what I was saying is that after this is generated, after every vehicle consumes fuel, there's an ETR receipt that is generated at the petrol station, and it has a specific number plate, which is additional to what is there.
Oh, but why can't it be here? This is a service provider statement. This comes from Vivo Energy Kenya. Transaction report for customer invoice. This is the one for invoicing, isn't it?
Yes.
So how do we invoice without being specific on the vehicles that have been fueled?
Because the CEO, those two documents are supposed to corroborate each other. You have your statement here and you are checking against the ETR receipts. If your statement has no, I am just imagining the officer who has to verify those physical receipts, Chair, and he has a dump of all these receipts. He has to find each transaction here. There is no reference to any vehicle. He has to look at the time or the place.
Mr. Chair, if I may confirm, what happens for the statement, we don't get it on daily basis. We get it maybe weekly or monthly.
That's not the point.
Where you're going wrong.
That's not the point.
You see, the concern here is the controls. The controls. And I don't know why you are being a bit defensive. Because without controls, you can't tell which vehicle has been fueled. And that's why we are highlighting this report, saying that this report is incomplete. You either ask the service provider to include a column on the registration number, but otherwise this cannot be an accountability document. Because you don't know whether these are tractors or whatever assets that belong to individuals.
Excuse me, Chair.
Because even in terms of importance, they have the location of the petrol station, but not the registration of the vehicle. Governor, honestly. In terms of priority of the importance of information, you would expect that the vehicle registration is first.
Chair, Your Excellency Governor Sakaja, would I be wrong if I took administrative action against your officer by assuming how he's inept?
They are not allowed.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
Also a new chief officer.
No,
Oh.
then he should be telling us.
And he should be telling us he wasn't there.
Looking at him.
Yes.
Why, just say what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Tell us
You are not there then.
He should have told us what he has already done and he has failed to get it, and he should be one telling us what he discovered.
Chair, you know,
Senator Adulo? Senator Adulo?
Yeah, from the brief we had, Governor, from the brief we had this morning, the situation is still the same.
let me check.
Yeah?
Chair,
Wait a minute, I'll give you an opportunity.
The situation is still the same. Initially in the morning, we were told 7 cards. Now you are saying you have 45 cards against 500 and something vehicles. Which criteria do you use? Allocate 45 cards against 500 plus vehicles. So what we want to know is the control and transparency in the manner in which those cards are allocated and the consumption of the fuel plus the budget allocated to it. Thank you.
Senator Cherarkeng?
Chair, I think, Chief Officer, what you should be telling us, a question through the governor, out of these 550 vehicles, are there any vehicles that are leased from any agency or individuals, number one? Number two, apart from this, can you recall this document that does not have registration number? And I know, Governor, you are aware about the engine capacity, because we don't want people driving LX600 masquerading as a county government of Nairobi, and you know very well it will not be prudent use of resources. So the question is he able to display the registration number through the chair and also the engine capacity? You remember during Uhuru's time, he had brought was it a 1300 cc?
Yeah.
But it will not be, even if it is not in law.
There's no law that limits the vehicles accountable.
I don't know why governor is.
But you know,
I don't know why governor is defensive. And I'm just trying
regulations are also subsidiary legislation.
Correct.
So if it's captured in regulation or in circulars by bodies that are constitutionally mandated to provide those guidelines, then they form part.
They form part of it.
But that's not that's not the argument. I don't want you to just.
The point I'm trying to make, Governor, is.
Yeah. So he's talking about.
I'm not talking about this. I don't know his private vehicle, so why would I discuss?
It's the one you said.
No. LX600. I was just an example.
And that's why we want the registration number.
Yes.
So that we can check whether that particular one is being filled using
Chair
county cards.
Cherarkeng should declare interest. The governor has said he has given him a lift in that very same vehicle.
No.
Where did
Yeah,
they
I've
do it?
never boarded any governor's vehicles.
it's the same one.
I don't
was a
know.
senator.
I don't know his vehicles. I can't really remember
Anyway, Chair,
because he's a man of means. So I can't really remember which one. The point I'm trying to make, and I think Governor, you need to assist us on this, is the prudent use. I was saying, imagining that your county government is driving a 6,000 cc vehicle, which we should drive less so that you consume less fuel. That is my argument. Because at the end of the day,
I don't about fuel or about.
Order, Governor. Yeah. Order. If you need a break for the sugar levels, you ask for it because I'm seeing they are going down. But as we are, still alert.
So my point only, I wanted to make
Chair, point of order, Chair.
Let's allow
to conclude. Through the Chief Officer of Mobility, are there among 550 vehicles you have, are there any that are leased? Number two, Could you be able to display, apart from registration number, display the engine capacity for accountability purposes so that it becomes easy to account?
Senator Mariam Omar.
Chair, mine is also partly the same. I wanted to ask if Governor, currently, how do you do your asset, your fuel register? Because if there is lacking, because this one there is a problem of registration, is it the same continue?
Senator Onyonka, no, Senator Mofa.
You know, Chair, we in this arrangement you are interrogating history. So we want to know from the CEO now, the current situation, do we have that kind of confusion? The current.
I think we have asked the same things in different language, in different words. Governor, we want to understand the current arrangement, whether the controls have been tightened or the situation is as flagged by the Auditor General.
Chair, perhaps before it does. Governor, if you see everything that is in place in Nairobi is very deliberate. If you go to the next annexure, which is a list of insurance of your vehicles, you will see that all the information we are looking for on the fuel side is included in this report. Because you will see registration number of a vehicle, the make, the model, the type, the year of manufacture, everything is captured there. So why it was not done the same, yeah, even the value, why it was not done the same for fuel is the cause of concern. So perhaps when you respond as to what you have done now, speak to the deliberate nature of the omission of some of those information during that time.
Okay, let's allow them to respond. I think we have canvassed enough.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. I will start with the first question on whether we have any leased vehicles. I can confirm currently we do not have any leased vehicles. What we are using is county vehicles. Number two, Honorable Senator asked what is the criteria that we use while issuing these cards. What we have done is that we have given per sectors, especially for the sectors that have a lot of fleet. For example, mobility and works, they have a card. For example, health, it has a card. And then the reason as to why they increased is when we came into office through the governor, we introduced cards for CECs and chief officers. So for the vehicles that are used by CECs and chief officers, they have specific cards for those vehicles. Moving forward, a senator asked what is the current situation. We have improved on the situation. The records that we have for this year and this administration, we have the registration, the model, the price, the liters, and the receipt number. And to add on the improvement that we are still doing, we are in the process of having a containerized fuel station for the county. We have organized with our supplier such that when we get that containerized fuel, each vehicle, and I'm talking about each vehicle, will have a dummy card, because there will be no need to load that card with credit, because we will have our own fuel. But the purpose of that dummy card is to ensure you can know with precision the amount of fuel that has been consumed by that vehicle and whether it's diesel or petrol.
Auditor General, we request you to keep this in view so that you can report back on whether there are sufficient controls to prevent misuse. But we agree with the Auditor General that there have been weaknesses in fuel management. I think that should allow us to move on.
Chair, can I?
Senator Onyonka, it is 4:09 p.m.
Just 1 second.
Yes.
I wanted to, having a sore throat, I just wanted to raise the issue with the mobility manager and the governor that even whether you're going to do the containerized fueling system within the county government, if you don't have a GPS system, you don't have a report that is given from whoever that is assigning your driver to go and work somewhere, and you understand, Governor, that this technology would be giving you the mileage and the distances and where your vehicles are working. I think you understand where I am. And I hope that you may possibly think about adopting such a system.
Governor, let that not generate a debate. Let's proceed to issue number 2.5.
Chair, I had asked him to answer, then I conclude.
No, we have already given directives.
Okay, kindly, Chair. Just allow me to...
No, I will direct that we move to the next issue. It is
But
4:10 p.m.
Just 1 minute for my response.
Order, Governor, it is for your benefit that we are proceeding. Otherwise, if it gets to 5 o'clock, we shall adjourn and you'll come back here tomorrow.
Chair, just allow me to 1 minute.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
Only, no, surely, Chair.
Proceed.
The reason we come here is to answer. Allow us to answer the questions, the audit questions.
Yes, but we also have our
The fuel
timelines.
management system that we are now implementing, that is at award stage, includes GPS, includes a fuel station, a petrol station, physical, at our central garage, where we'll be getting fuel below commercial rate. That is the negotiation we got into. And we can be able to tell, even if if fuel is siphoned, immediately an alert will come out from that vehicle. So it's going to be a fuel management system on each and every tank of the vehicles for the county.
Fine.
That is the process we're in.
Auditor General, you'll confirm whether the tumepanga na tumetenga is true in your next cycle of audit.
Well noted, Chair.
The distribution of goods.
Oh, you should wish well the governor. Yeah. You should wish well to the governor.
I know what makes Cherargei happy. 2.5 on distribution of goods. We take note of the Auditor General's finding. 127 million paid to suppliers for various miscellaneous items. Auditor General, were the payment vouchers supported with receipt and issue vouchers? Has that been demonstrated in the response?
Chair, we said we have received the stores receipt and issue vouchers. All that is remaining is confirmation of the originals.
So you will. This is one of those areas you said that you still need time to confirm.
Yes, Chair, that is one.
Fine. So do that confirmation so that when you're writing a report, you can advise us. 2.6 on supply of goods under emergency department. Again, we take note of the Auditor General's finding to the effect that foodstuff totaling 275 million was procured for disaster and emergency. Another expenditure of 37 million in respect of emergency COVID response, and 15,900 mattresses at a cost of 135 million. The total expenditure queried is 448 million on emergency services. And the Auditor General was questioning the legality and the prudence of that expenditure. Auditor General, have you gotten the information that you needed?
Chair, we have the documents. Again, the confirmation is what we were requesting from the committee.
So that's 2.6. The county says that the records are attached, and you had said that you needed some time to review the records.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, then we'll give you time so that you can advise us when you're writing the report. 2.7 on unsupported procurement of goods. What were you asking for? Receipt and issue vouchers and approval for the payments made without a budget. We take note of the county's response, saying that they were directly delivered to the end users. So, Governor, what does that mean? That you do not have you do not have receipt and issue vouchers for the goods?
Yes. If the assertion is that they were given directly to the end users, then that means that documentation is not there. I don't know if there was anything further supplied to the Auditor General.
So if it's a position of the county that those issue vouchers, receipt and issue vouchers do not exist, it is upon the committee to make a determination on whether the procurement officers or the persons involved in this procurement complied with the law, even if it was an emergency procurement. Because I can see that the county's response is very brief, that due to the emergency nature, materials were directly delivered to the end users. But there's also the other question of payments which were made without a budget. If this is a response of the county government, I think as a committee, we definitely must find some people to have broken the law in this procurement. Irregularities in procurement of masks. We take note of the Auditor General's finding under 2.8. The county government responds by saying that there was a mix-up in dates in the memo and that goods procured were delivered and there was no loss of funds. Auditor General, do you agree?
Chair, I think management is in agreement with audit observation that the dates were not correct. Justification for the mix-up, Chair, is what we are looking for.
Was there loss of funds?
Chair, this is procurement. So if chronology of events is doubtful, then we cannot tell whether the procurement was actual.
So the problem is approval was given on 28th of March. Requisition for the purchase was done on 28th August. After approval to procure had already been done. Further, the LPO was issued on 16th April before the requisition was done. So that is a breach of the procurement regulations, isn't it?
Yes, Chair.
And there was a procurement that was a head of supply chain who perhaps did a professional opinion. We must hold that head of procurement to account because that's a member of a regulated profession. So here we agree with you that the head of supply chain or the person who issued the professional opinion must be held to account.
I'm very interested in the Auditor General's take on that. Your second statement in your finding. What is the basis of you concluding that there was money lost if you are telling us that the bidder supplied the masks? How did you confirm that the masks were supplied?
Chair, in my statement I've not said that we've confirmed no money was lost. I've said, in the absence of following the law as it is, then we cannot be able to confirm.
So how did you confirm the masks were supplied? What's the basis of that confirmation?
Based on the documents.
Invoices, What documents did you look at? Delivery notes, were they availed?
Allow me to go back to the question, Chair.
But that same paragraph says that the county was invoiced 1 year before delivery was done. Or is that the mix-up in dates that you are alluding to, Governor? Because I mean, it would be very stupid theft where you invoice 1 year before delivery. Is that the mix-up of dates you are alluding to in your response?
Chair, on this one I can't comment. In fact, at this time I was chairing the COVID committee in the Senate, trying to look at these problems at that time. So I'll allow the committee to make its finding on this, Chair. Unless anyone, maybe the supply chain. Yes, yeah, unless you can comment on this.
I think that this one we don't need to waste too much time about this. These are irregularities that were rife during the emergency period, and we cannot just excuse it that it was COVID time. Everyone had a professional responsibility to do the right thing. 2.9, retreats at an unknown venue.
Who was the governor then? Chair, this is laughable. Could be the governor. We under security threat. Could not reveal where they were.
So we are querying the payment of 2.9 million, which was paid for a retreat whose venue was not disclosed for audit review. Governor, could you tell us the venue for this event?
According to the documentation, it is Marbolak Hotel. That is the response that we've given. That is the training for drivers.
Auditor General,
Documents provided.
do you confirm? Have they now provided documentation to confirm that?
Chair, we don't have appendix 2.9, so
Where is that appendix?
we are unable to confirm.
You are not. It had not been presented to you.
No, Chair.
Governor, you cannot present to us documents that you are not subjected to the Auditor General. And so if the Auditor General has not seen Appendix 2.9, then the venue remains unknown.
Is it the new file? There's a new file. Why?
Members, it's 2.9 million, so the amount is not very material, but so it should not take us a lot of time to deal with. Senator Sifuna?
I wanted the governor to refer us to that annexure. I can't seem to find it.
Yeah, so neither can I. I'm asking the Director of Accounting Services.
Chair, that appendix is missing, but
So the venue remains unknown, as far as you are concerned.
it was there. We are provided with the attendance registers for the drivers. Mapwak Hotel.
Where is it? Where is that evidence? That's the evidence the auditor was looking for, and that's why he called it an unknown venue.
Maybe when we are filing these documents together, it was mistakenly left out.
But you've had this thing for this report for the last 2 years. The auditor was on the ground. You didn't provide him with that information, and now you have an opportunity for mitigation at the Senate. You don't have it. You see, if you are going to say present it in 7 days, it will be making nonsense of what we are doing. 7 days is really for further clarification, not provision of primary documentation.
Sure, we are sorry we can provide this attendance register to the auditors as they are verifying the other documents. But I remember seeing an attendance register for drivers at Mamboaka Hotel.
Auditor General, just look, maybe within those 7 days you'll advise us, but as far as you're concerned, the venue remains unknown, and this was theft of public resources, 2.9 million. Domestic travel and subsistence, 2.10. Auditor, you had said this has been supported?
Yes, Chair.
2.11, other unsupported payments. Appendix 1, you had requested for more time to verify the supporting documentation.
Good, Chair.
That applies to 2.12,
Yes, Chair.
2.11, and 2.12.
That's true, Chair.
And the reason for that, Governor, is because your officers were sending vouchers to the Auditor General as late as when?
Friday, Chair.
As late as Friday. And that is unacceptable. I don't think that we will take that stance going forward. But now that the Auditor General says that they are able to look at them, we'll allow them to look at the payment vouchers. Failure to provide transaction status, Auditor General, you said this is partially resolved.
Yes, Chair.
What is outstanding?
The current status, Chair, of the amounts that were voided.
They voided 15.6 billion worth of transactions.
Yes, Chair.
Governor, what would be the reason for voiding payments with that payments which are that material? 15.6 billion.
Chair, I suspect there were unclear defects in the system, which ideally should be done every financial year such that they don't accumulate to such colossal amount. But I believe that is what must have contributed to that figure. So what is expected to be done and is what we are currently doing, is at the end of the financial year, if there are transactions in the systems that have not been funded for one reason or the other, either due to underperformance of revenue or late exchequer releases, they're usually voided before you close the financial year.
In your response, you're saying the authority to void transactions has been provided for verification. Can we see that? Is it in the annexures that we have?
It's not in the annexure, but it was provided to the auditors. I have it with me. The letter was...
Control of budget, what's your take on this? 15 billion worth of voided transactions. And we've had this conversation. And sometimes this is done, they seek the approval, and your office does the approval, then they go back and do their own things. And it's a way of stealing public funds.
Thank you, sir. Could I say something, Chair?
Yes, Senator Young.
I know this is historical, but my chair, I can tell you that is the reason why, you remember the questions that we've been asking, that Kisii County has got 672 voided transactions. It looks like this is something that has been set up for, and I would want the Auditor General to give us the reasons why they think this has happened. And number two, I really, really would want, Chair, the Controller Budget to come and answer those questions to us. Because there's something going on between Treasury, Central Bank, Controller Budget's office, and finally to the county governments that are receiving the money through the executive.
Controller Budget?
At the Controller of Budget, we only receive the successful transactions in the exchequer requests. So the voided transactions happen probably after. So those ones do not make their way to the Controller of Budget. However, we expect that the voided transactions are authorized. They should be authorized. So maybe there must be an approval process at the county level voiding the payments.
Could I ask a question, sir?
Senator Young.
Excuse me. How do you, I know I've already heard what you're saying. That's why I'm saying I also wanted the Auditor General to talk about it. How do you void payments for 15 billion shillings and then you pay through some others? This is what is, I'm actually baffled. Could you try and explain to us what you've discovered?
Thank you, Chair. Looking at the voided transactions, some of the reasons is one, what they have explained, that a payment has been processed through the process up to IP. However, that approval for the final payment has not been granted either by COP to lack of funds. Again, a payment that we categorize under this are those payments where a payment is processed, however, wrong details can exist, like a wrong name, wrong account number, and therefore it bounces back.
Thank you. Excuse me, Chair. So the three reasons you've given that are most likely supposed to be consequential out of this exercise, in your simple, common Wananchi's language, what can you explain to me is actually happening to these transactions? Because number one, you cannot pay something that doesn't have the account number that is proper, isn't it? Number two, if the payment has been authorized and the fund and the requisition for payment goes to the Controller Budget's office, if the money isn't there, because you see, IFMIS doesn't ask you to file a requisition if there's no money. So the argument that the reason why this was actually being voided was because there was no money doesn't make sense. But I also know that if I took, like we have the case in Kisii County where the budget was mutilated, where the Controller Budget flagged out the budget which had been mutilated, which means the code that is supposed to be used for the payment of this money doesn't exist. I can see you are smiling. I'm with you now. Is that the true story? Yes. I'll see you are smiling. These things now, we know them. So begin to tell us exactly how we are losing money in our counties. We don't want you to play with us. Many of us are well schooled, we are accountants, we are forensic experts, the whole of this team. And this has nothing to do with what is happening at the county, because this is like 4 years ago. The governor wasn't there. Can you tell us and tell Kenyans what exactly is happening when you have those 4 hypotheticals?
Proceed.
Chair, I may not have a case that I have proved, but in relation to the amounts that are on discussion here, the 15 billion is patching up of payments towards the end of the year with anticipation that the exchequer release, the exchequer money will come in. And so come the end of the financial year, that money is not forthcoming. But these transactions have been invoiced through the process. And therefore, for you to close the financial statements in the system, these transactions have to be cleared. And therefore, the way they clear them...
That is one hypothetical. Give me the other 3. That is the one everybody uses. Oh, it was exchequer releases, exchequer... No. Give me, why do you think somebody would actually stop payment of 15 billion shillings?
Honorable Chair, can the finance experts from the county answer that? Because this is the system that they use on a day-to-day basis.
I am having a problem even with the county, because you had said there was no documentary evidence provided to support authorization and reasons for invalidation. The county says it is attached. We can't see it. We can't see it. Governor, why did you choose not to provide that to the Senate? Because I'd really like to see that authorization to invalidate 15 billion or to void 15 billion worth of transactions. I'd really like to see that. Yes, I want to see who has authorized it, who requested and who authorized it.
Chair,
in your response, you have said the authority to void transactions has been provided. I'd really like to see that.
Yes, Chair, I can confirm that this was provided to the auditors. I have a letter dated 3rd August 2022 addressed to the Director, IFMIS Department, National Treasury, requesting for voiding rights for officers working within the county treasury, and 5 of them are listed with their PF numbers, their ID numbers, and email addresses. And the letter was signed by then Acting Head of County Treasury, Mr. Joseph Gadiaka. So,
and the response? That is a request?
So normally in practice, Chairman, once a letter is written, I've not seen a response back from IFMIS indicating that the rights have been granted. Usually within the stipulated time of 7 days, they issue the rights, and once the officers access the system...
And 7 days would have fallen on the date of election.
They're able to deal.
What was happening on 3rd of August 2022?
Chair, usually for clearing systems, again, based on experience...
No, what significant activity was happening in the week of the 7 days from 3rd of August? Those 7 days that you expected to get response. What was happening in the country?
There was an election.
Yes.
Yeah, but I cannot fully ascertain the happenings then. But
why would one choose to void 15 billion worth of transactions on election week?
Usually, Chair, the National Treasury grants an extension once the financial year comes to a close.
On 30th of June, not in August.
Sometimes, Chair, it runs up to at least a month or 2 after the financial
year. That's a completely different matter. You are saying authority to void transactions has been provided, but you have described to us a request to void transactions.
Correct.
And that's why I'm saying I'm very curious to see who granted that authority and when it was granted.
You see, I understand, with the kind of even pending outstanding liabilities that are there,
of 100p. Accountants will put things on internet banking, hoping that they can be paid. At the end of the financial year, everything that is not paid is voided. This financial year, the specific one that we're talking about, there was an extension from July towards the end because of the late exchequer release. So that is what coincided with August. Such that now, if it has not gone through by the end of the financial year, you try again next year as a pending. That's what actually happens in practice. So it's not that 15 billion was actually used to pay something else. I don't think there's a time the county has had 15 billion in its account at a go. But it's that even now, if you go to internet banking, you'll find a lot of payments that are there, just hoping that a decision is made to pay them. You know, talking about outstanding liabilities of close to 107 billion. You know, many of them are there, and they're just hoping that, you know, with this budget I can get my pending bill paid or whatnot. So it's not that if you void, the money is actually then spent from CRF on something else.